Hey, MBA hopefuls, welcome to MBA Waves. You are live with us today, and we are talking with Queen's University, Smith School of Business, to discover the flexible MBA program at Smith. Today, we have Teresa Pires with us, who is the Associate Director of MBA Recruitment. Hi, Teresa. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Great to see you.
And as always, we have my partner in crime, co-host, and creator of MBA Waves, Bara. How are you?
I am great. We have a heat wave. It is intense here. Whoa. Yes. It was 105 here yesterday.
Wow.
And 112 on the road.
So for the rest of the world, that's like 43. And yeah, here in Paris, it's pretty mild, but excited to be back from vacation. I took 2 weeks off MBA Waves, and we're going to dive into it today. So without like any more delay, Teresa, why don't you just start off by introducing yourself, like where you come from, what you're doing at Smith. I know you've been there for a number of years. We've been colleagues and friends for like 8 years now or something.
Feels like a long time, Eric. Yes, it's so nice to be here with both Eric and Bara today. As Eric said, my name is Teresa Pires, and I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the full-time MBA program at the Smith School of Business. I've been doing this now for just over a decade. Man, that feels like a long time when I say it out loud, but I've had such an amazing journey over this last 10 years or so, meeting so many great prospective candidates, seeing the journeys our alumni go through year over year. And I'm hopeful that I'll be able to share some insights, tips, and guidance today as we talk about the full-time MBA program and some of the other options that you might be considering as well.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah, it's really great to see you. After our Clubhouse first meeting a while back, probably almost a year ago. So can you share, Teresa, what is new and exciting at the Smith Schools of Business at Queen's University?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we're back in person, so that's new and exciting. You know, we went through some ups and downs, some changes to the program structure, being virtual, hybrid, in person, then lockdown. So it's gone back and forth over the last couple of years, really. So I'm really excited to share that we are back on campus. Our students are fully residential with no restrictions at this time. So that's first and foremost something that I think everyone can finally breathe a sigh of relief in, feeling like things are slowly starting to get back to normal after this pandemic. So that's one thing. The other is that we continue to grow our suite of programs. So not only do we have the full-time MBA option, but we do have some double degrees that are really a cool option if you are looking to enhance your MBA experience. So we have the Masters of Finance, Masters of Artificial Intelligence, which is relatively new. We have a Masters of Management Analytics, and we have a Masters of Health Quality. So we have seen a rise in healthcare as well as technology, and we'll get to that a little bit later in terms of where our students end up after the MBA, but also what they're coming in with in terms of where they've been, their skills and their abilities. So I think we're really in a great alignment with what industry is demanding here in Canada, as well as what our MBA students are being able to add in terms of a value add to what they are bringing to the classroom discussions. So there's lots of new and upcoming things that I just encourage everyone to check out our website to see what is upcoming. I know that I often get asked at around virtual programs. I think some people have become quite comfortable with the virtual options. We do have a global management analytics program, which is really new, but otherwise our programs are fully residential.
Yeah, and you mentioned like what the market in Canada is looking for. I would say even worldwide, like particularly since COVID. I mean, some of the masters, they're specialized masters or masters.
Yeah, they're specialized master's degrees. Yeah.
Like anything related to healthcare and tech. I know like right now in the short term following COVID, there's been a kind of an exodus from healthcare, doctors, nurses, and so on. And I think a lot of people may have been traumatized by that. But also I know COVID has been one of those like life reflecting, want to have purpose kind of thing. And I know a lot of people are considering going towards healthcare. And so like a degree that combines business and, healthcare, or business and tech, which tech is, let's face it, everywhere, more and more in healthcare. It makes a lot of sense. And so I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification, speaking about the MBA. I know you're more like on top of the full-time MBA program. Can people do dual degree with the full-time MBA and these masters?
Yeah, exactly. So they have a couple of options. So the way it might work in our program is they can opt to either do one of the specialized masters before the MBA, during the MBA concurrently, or after they complete the MBA. So they do get the option to select what timing fits best with when they want to pursue the MBA and or the specialized degree. So this is one of the unique aspects of our program, is that you can enhance through the double degrees, but you can also extend your MBA by an additional 4 months and graduate in May of the following year with 2 degrees. How amazing is that? So in fact, we are a 1-year MBA that can potentially extend with that double degree option. So I think that makes, when candidates are considering being out of the workforce for 1 to 2 years, wanting to enhance their skills, wanting to do a deep dive in a specific area, they have those options within our full-time profile.
I love that. That kind of like bucks the system with a lot of the North American MBA programs. Oh, I think we just lost Teresa.
Oh no.
She'll be back, I'm sure. But as you out there know, like full-time MBAs in North America are often 2 years, whereas in Europe they're usually 1-year programs. So it's interesting that that at Queen's, Smith, it is indeed a 1 year, but you have that option to make it longer. It sounds really cool, actually.
Have you heard of other AI master's degrees that are connected with business schools?
I have a little bit, but I can't say which schools are offering that. I've heard it kind of like rumbling in the background, like schools that are looking to develop that. Looks like Teresa's trying to log back in, and she's back.
Talking about technology.
Exactly.
So sorry
Nice.
about that.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about
there.
AI. I was just asking Eric if he knows other AI master's programs. And I mean, I feel like I've heard it a little tiny bit. I've heard whispers of it, but that also sounds super interesting to connect it with the business school.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really interesting dual degree, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
It is, and it's become very popular. If you're looking to merge into technology, or if you already have some technical skills, depending, of course, on what industry you're coming from, to do that double degree option, it's really a digital business or digital transformation space that is growing, not since COVID, but even before COVID, and it is just blown up since COVID, with companies looking to increase cybersecurity, to, improve their technical abilities, to add more components of, making their business more mobile, and as well as offering the options for clients to be more mobile, and to ensure that engagement is still there and that interaction. I think that this skill is going to continue to grow.
Well, it sounds super flexible, right? It sounds like what your school is offering is a MBA program, this full-time MBA, and then these other pieces that allow the student to be flexible. But I also hear that the Smith MBA is itself super flexible. So can you tell us a little bit more details on how that's the case?
Absolutely, Bara. So at the end of the day, an MBA is an MBA. You're going to get those 3 letters. I always like to say it's about how you get it that really is the difference, or makes the difference. When you think about doing an MBA, I talked to many candidates over the last, decade, thousands and thousands, and ultimately, they're taking time away from their work, their professional careers, personal lives, and they're also investing financially. So they have to make sure it's the right choice for them. Our program, I feel, does it the best in Canada, being that it is flexible in the fact that we are a 1-year MBA, so we follow directly in line with Canada's corporate hiring structure. The ability to do the core fundamentals of business, in the first 6 months is not as flexible, but, in the last 6 months of the program, you do have the ability to choose a specialization, whether that be in consulting, finance, marketing and sales, entrepreneurship and innovation, digital transformation, which is that AI we were just talking about, or management analytics. So that does give you the ability to either choose one of those areas specifically, or choose from the suite of many other elective courses that we offer, and sort of pick and choose from those different buckets. So someone can really do a deep dive into one specific area if they choose, or really take a very sort of wholesome approach to their MBA and pick and choose the courses that are of interest to them, but the courses that will also allow them to enhance skills that they might have a weakness in. And so this is really where our flexibility comes in the 1-year format. You can opt to do a specialization or just general management. The other option is, of course, the double degrees that we just discussed, which will extend the MBA by an additional 4 months, which will essentially mean that you get 2 degrees in 16 months. Or what we haven't yet talked about, and I hope we can spend a few minutes talking about, is the global exchange option that we have. We have 38 partners in 24 countries. So it's a really amazing opportunity that our students have to go abroad if they choose and do some of their electives at one of our partnering schools.
Teresa, could you maybe mention some of the popular partner schools that you have relationships with?
Sure. We've recently partnered with Stellenbosch in South Africa. We have a partnership with NUS in Singapore, LBS in London, all of the key players, IE in Spain, just to name a few.
Nice. And you just came from Africa. I believe you were in Ghana and South Africa as well?
I was, yeah. So the recruiting has begun. In-person events are back in full swing, and I have just come back from recruiting in Ghana, Nigeria, Johannesburg in South Africa, and Cape Town in South Africa. And I did a quick trip to the UK and London as well to connect with some alumni. It was fabulous.
It's so good to see you still bouncing around the world. I mean, that's how we met. And I definitely missed that part. And I'm working on this side doing admissions consulting and not doing the recruiting travel. But also it's a great sign that Smith is still really engaged and committed to having a diverse class and like bringing so many different people from all over the world. Just wanted to get also clarification on, I know you, again, working in the full-time, you guys offer a part-time option, right? And I'm wondering how that works. How long is it?
Absolutely.
Is it online?
Yeah, great question. And before we move into that, I do want to say that is one of the reasons we recruit and are on the ground, is so we can meet our incoming students, which I did have the ability to do, which is fantastic, but also to ensure a diverse class year over year. So we're a small program, we're only 80 students. So we want to make sure that we see that diversity of thought, but also diversity of where our candidates are coming from globally as well. So in terms of the full-time MBA, we have the most diverse class of the suite of MBA options that we offer. We do also have 2 executive options. So an executive MBA typically is for candidates with 10 plus years of work experience. And those options are the EMBA National Program. And then we also have a partnership with Cornell, the Johnson School of Management, in an executive MBA Americas option. So that program, we have boardrooms in the US, of course, being that we partner with Johnson School of Management, but also into Latin America. We have boardrooms in Mexico. We have boardrooms in Bogota, in Chile, Santiago, in Lima, Peru. So it is quite a unique program as well. So if you are an executive candidate listening in, don't hesitate to reach out if you're interested in either one of those executive options. Then we also have an accelerated MBA for business undergrads. So that is typically designed for candidates with a business degree, undergraduate degree. And that program starts at the same time as the full-time MBA, January to December. So those 3, let's call them professional programs, are offered within Canada or the US with the Americas program, but you do have to be working while you complete those programs. And so during COVID, it was there was the ability to do it virtually, remotely from wherever you were. But now that we're getting back onto campus and into our boardrooms, you do have to be in Canada to pursue those options.
Neat. So Teresa, there's 80 students in each class. Is that
in the full-time MBA program? Yeah, there's only 80 students. So with each of the other programs that I just discussed, of course, the cohorts look different. But in the full-time MBA program, it's 80 students year over year, 1 intake in January.
Interesting. So when I think of a smaller class, I think there's diversity. It seems like there's more customization. There's more. Rather than a huge class. And I know that with Eric and I, we're always talking to students about the fit. How does a student fit with the school? How do they fit with an admissions consultant? What kind of test prep fit do they have? And so can you talk a little bit about the culture itself at the school?
Yeah, so I'm biased. I was born and raised in Kingston, Ontario, which is where Queen's University is based. And so I absolutely love Kingston. I think it's a great city to pursue further education. you're only in the program for 1 year, so you have to make sure that, it is a place that you want to spend a year of your life, but also in terms of the diversity of the class, you want to make sure that you see yourself in the student profiles and the people that have come before you. So it's important to look at alumni from the school. It's important to look at the ambassadors of the program currently living the experience of the full-time MBA program to really get a better sense of what that diversity looks like. So that's just a tip. For those interested in learning more about the program, please visit our website, and you can actually speak to current students in live time. In addition to that, Bara, our program, yes, it's these 80 students a year. We're typically 40% international students. This year we have 19 nationalities represented, and not just that, I do want to highlight that we also have non-binary students and 44% female. So that's something I'm very proud of. I actively seek and recruit women for our full-time MBA profile, and I would love to see parity, as most programs would, of course.
Nice. That's fantastic. And speaking about people who are, interested in the program, and I'm sure many listeners today are thinking about applying to the program, especially after hearing you talking so enthusiastically about it. But maybe you could talk a little bit about the admissions process. Like, what should they expect? What are maybe some suggestions you want to offer so they can really stand out and be a competitive candidate?
Absolutely, Eric. And I think that this is just the beginning of one's journey and looking at these types of events and participating. I encourage you all to go onto our YouTube channel to learn more about our program through various different videos that we have posted, as well as I've previously mentioned, connecting with our ambassadors. I can't say that enough today. And so that is going to give you an overall, let's call it holistic approach to understanding what the school offers. Most importantly, you have to make sure that this is a program that you want to invest time, energy, and money into. And so we do have some live events coming up, an open house coming up, as well as some virtual coffee chat options as well. So I encourage those that are very interested in applying to us that you do that at any point in time during the process. In terms of what we look for, qualifications, we typically like to see a candidate with a 4-year undergraduate degree. We do look at 3-year undergraduate degrees on a case-by-case. So absolutely possible if you do have a 3-year undergraduate degree. Typically within the GPA, we want to see about a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. So it's around B plus average. Again, it's quite subjective depending on the type of degree that you're coming in with. We do not have a particular profile for our full-time MBA. You can come from any background, any work experience. My advice in saying this is don't self-select yourself out, right? Let us do a preliminary assessment and assess your transcripts, your grades essentially, as well as your degree. In addition to that, we want to see a 2-year minimum work experience. So 2 to 9 years typically is the range within the full-time. Year over year, it's around 4.5 to 5 years on average years of work experience. We also want to see a standardized test, so a Gmat or a GRE. Very standard for full-time MBA qualification in terms of how we assess a candidate. Ultimately, we're trying to see how you can critically analyze a situation as well as quantitatively. We're trying to understand if you can handle the rigor of the academics, as an MBA is quite financially and quantitatively rigorous. So that's why we ask for the standardized test. And another reason is because the standardized test is the same test across the board. Everywhere in the world, it is the exact same test. So it is the only measure that we can equally assess candidates on. So this is another reason why we ask for that standardized test. Gmat minimum 600. Again, don't self-select yourself out if you have below that. We have taken candidates with slightly lower Gmat scores, but really strong GPAs, for example. So one can help outweigh the other. The other assessment is your references. So 2 professional references is what we're asking for. And these should be people that you've directly reported into, okay? So have that conversation with your superior, either current or previous supervisor, to really understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your accomplishments, so that there are no surprises when we read that reference in comparison to what you're saying in the interview. The interview is typically the last stage, and we do score that. So it is important in both the acceptance as well as in your scholarship evaluation. So everything I've just discussed is how we assign scholarships. There is no separate application for scholarship. When you're applying to us, of course, for an acceptance, and then an assessment of scholarship is done at the same time.
Interesting. What about timing, Teresa? When is the best time to apply for an MBA?
I would like to tell candidates the best time is when you feel most prepared. We are on a rolling admission basis, so we typically recruit right until the end of November, and then we will move into a wait list. Our program begins second week in January. So for international students, you do need to have that additional time to get study permits, financing in order, etc. So we do like to say, end of September is usually the cutoff or deadline for international students. However, we don't have official deadlines.
Got it.
Bara, before you jump into the next question, I just wanted to point out to everyone watching that is the website on the bottom of the screen under Teresa's image, smith.queensu.ca for Canada. And you can find all those details like admissions deadlines, all the criteria for eligibility, and all that other stuff, as well as Teresa's contact, I suppose, is on there. And yeah, and I'll share in a moment. You mentioned the YouTube channel, so I've already pulled that up, and I'll share that in just a moment. And
great, thanks, Eric. I'm also going to pop in my email address. If anyone does want to reach out to me directly, I'm always happy to answer your questions, connect you with an application advisor to get that preliminary assessment done. So typically the way it works is our preliminary assessments are no obligation, free application process as well. So there is no fee to apply to any of our programs.
Neat. I think I'm gonna, if I have your permission, I think I want to take that little snippet where you said the standardized test is the same across the board, because there's such a controversy now with standardized tests from college and business schools, and law schools are even thinking about it. And it really does come down to, you have this one test that everyone is taking, and there's really no other way that you can compare everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I might have to ask your permission if we do it. But it looks like we lost Eric. It looks like we lost him for a second talking about technology. So let me ask you some questions about the Gmat, because it is, this is such a big topic. Is there any sort of alternative option besides the Gmat, or do you take the EA ever, or do you take any other tests besides the standard GRE and Gmat now?
Yeah, great question. So we will, in some cases, look at a CFA. So if a candidate has been preparing, has level 1 at the minimum, we will assess that in combination, of course, with the undergraduate degree. So I would say that in terms of the standardized test, ultimately, as I previously mentioned, it's really that quantitative verbal communication, analytical skills that we're looking for, which can be seen very clearly in either a Gmat or a GRE. So there is no test set, outside of those two that equally equates, other than, of course, the CFA, which I just mentioned, that is a test that can easily tell us, a candidate's quantitative skills and abilities.
And for the other dual degrees that you mentioned, is there anything special besides the GRE or the alternative, the GRE that they need to do?
Nothing outside of those two. So typically the Gmat, because it does tend to be more quantitatively competitive with those scores when somebody's coming from a quantitative background. So that is ultimately what, for example, the analytics or the Masters of Finance, but they're not necessarily a requirement. So every program is going to have a different qualification list in terms of what a candidate has to have. So I just encourage everyone, if you are interested in one of those specialized master's degrees, to visit the website to learn more about what the specific qualifications are for those programs.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Interesting. And I only heard half of it because I got bumped off my Wi-Fi as well. We got to get some more people in that Queen's tech master. But anyway, besides the Gmat, I wanted to also ask, what tips might you give for those who are really ahead of the game, right? Who are looking, a few years down the road into doing an MBA, right? So, for people who are, who have time on their side, essentially, who are young and are really looking ahead, which is the best situation, actually. What would you suggest? What could they do to be good candidates, whether it's about research or networking? What are your thoughts on that? Like people who are really looking down the road.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I think that's a great question because not everyone's looking to do this MBA imminently, or maybe they're just not sure which program is the best fit for them, right? So they're in the preliminary stages of researching what the next steps are. So I think a candidate that has time on their hands can always start preparing for the standardized test. Given more time, of course, you statistically, will do better on the GMAT or the GRE. So it's 3 to 4 months in preparation, I would say, should suffice. In addition to that, networking. I mean, I talked earlier about the ambassadors and connecting with the school, visiting the school if you have time, if that's feasible for you, if you're in the country of where the school is that you plan to attend. I mean, all of these things can be done in advance of you completing an application or even starting an application. Oftentimes, we have events coming up, either virtual or in person, attending one of those specific events, whether it be to connect with an alumni or to visit the school to sit in on a class. That would be something that we offer as well. But let's go back to networking for a moment, because I think it's so important in any MBA program that you choose. It's not just about, feeling comfortable networking with those going into an MBA, but in the industry that you plan to pursue. So if you're making a transition or a pivot, it's never too early to start learning about that. The culture of that institution, or the type of function you plan to do, reaching out to your own network, and that by extension, your friends' networks or family networks that are working in the space you plan to work in post MBA. That is going to give you such a great insight, and you'll be ahead of the game when you do begin an MBA, because you'll already know or decided what you don't want to do. So I think it's important that you take the time, if you have the time, to really invest in yourself and figure out what it is you really want to do. Start that networking process early, and absolutely do a deeper dive into the schools you're looking to apply to. That doesn't always mean that, attending is going to be feasible if you can't be on campus attending the events, but even virtually and connecting with current students, admissions directors like myself, we're here to help you and answer your questions.
That's like music to my ears. As an admissions consultant, that's like exactly what I want to hear coming from people who work, at top schools. Yes, take those steps now while you're young. That might be about like learning a language. It might be about like going to networking events. Again, virtual is great. I think the world has kind of got used to it by now. And of course, GMAT prep. But I wanted to pivot a little bit to talk about academics for a moment, as I know time is flying. So, I mean, obviously, Smith is known for some of its professors who are fantastic, and I think faculty are really at the center of any degree of any institution, academic institution. But who are some of your star professors these days? What are they working on? What makes them so great at Smith?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, going back to everything we've discussed, it's important to check out our website, not just the full-time MBA, but we also have a platform called Smith Connect, which will give any candidate access to white papers, further information about some research that's happening on campus, as well as highlights of new faculty members that we have joining us. So please do that if you've got the time. All right, so some of our star faculty members, Ken Wong is, I would say, internationally known, and he's one of our marketing professors, and has not just been at the Smith School of Business, but as a visiting lecturer across the globe at many of our partnering institutions as well. He is one of our star faculty members, alongside Professor Anderson, Len Anderson, who teaches financial accounting, which may sound quite dry, but he has such a great way.
He brings it to life, right?
Yeah, he really does bring it to life. And even if you don't come from an accounting or a finance background, he stands out year over year and gets the Faculty of the Year award since I can remember. So he is one of our other faculty members in the space of accounting that really stands out. And another one that I just want to highlight is Jana Raver. So Professor Raver has been, she came from the US, she's American, but she has done quite a lot of research in the space of organizational behavior. She teaches a course called Leading with Integrity. And she is one of the standouts just because of the core content that she is teaching our students. And this to me ensures that our students are coming out being better leaders and managers from some of this content that she teaches and she highlights. So I would say that she certainly is another one that really stands out.
I love hearing about the integrity, right? Like that's so important for leaders today. And it's so important knowing that they're going forth in the world with this course behind them as part of the foundation. That's wonderful. And it really sort of dovetails. And what I want to ask is, what happens when they leave? What, everyone spends a lot of money getting these degrees, and they spend time and they take off whatever they're doing in life, and they've prepared, hopefully they've prepared with languages years ahead of time, and whatnot. But what kind of employment opportunities are you finding that applicants have after your program?
Yeah, it's a great question. And just to touch on one other thing before moving on is that one of the other unique aspects of our program is we actually have a professional skills communication course built right into the first 6 months of the MBA as well, which is quite unique. This is really important, and what we're hearing from employers is that strong communication is fundamental, right? You can't be successful in any industry if you don't have strong communication networking skills. So building in this professional communications course really does help our students move forward into any industry that they ultimately choose post MBA. And the other thing that's going to help highlight what we do so well is we do have a careers management course. So this is also an added value to help our students be so successful. We've consistently seen over 98% employment rate 3 months after graduation, which is the highest in Canada. And so one of the attributing factors is, of course, this career program built right into the program, but also the fact that we actually have career coaches that work directly with our students in terms of the types of industry that they want to work in. So it's by a functional alignment, essentially. And so if you want to work in consulting or finance or technology, your career coach is actually going to have a deep dive into that industry to help our students move forward into the careers they're seeking. So that is another reason why I think we stand out as being the #1 MBA program in Canada. And of course, that 98%, almost all of our students are successful when they're coming out of this program. So the spaces I would say are growing: infrastructure, technology, healthcare. We talked about that. Intelligence automation. So that's another space which is quite unique. Cybersecurity, education technology. The traditional consulting and finance are still going strong, and I think that's pretty standard for top MBA programs to see our alumni move into these spaces. But I just love the different functions that they're moving into within these spaces, and it's really amazing to see that jobs are coming up and industries are opening up the doors to different skill sets, and more of the softer skills as opposed to the technical skills. But I would say that it's really quite a merge to be successful in business today.
And what about like local applicants versus those that are coming from abroad? Is that 98% the same?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you should ask, because that was one of the biggest questions I got asked being on the road recently is, that's great, but what about our, international opportunities? And it's the same. It's the same for both our domestic and our international students in moving into these spaces. And in fact, most of our international students are landing jobs faster than our domestic students because they're already coming in with those technical skills. We see predominantly engineers coming into our MBA in terms of their education, their background. And so I would say that, merging that technical engineering background with a business degree has definitely proven very beneficial for our international candidates.
Great, thanks.
And speaking of like graduating and obviously becoming an alum, which is like not the end game, but that's like the big goal at first, right? I just want to point out that, like, if you haven't noticed, if you're watching the YouTube channel, is just in the bottom of the screen. So it's youtube.com/c/Smith School of Business. And there's a lot of great content there that's shared from, I think, alum, students, faculty, and administration that give a lot of insight about what the program's about. And you really get to discover the culture. But back to alum, first thing I wanted to mention, thinking about alumni coming out of Canadian MBA programs, is like the huge opportunity to stay if you want to. Where they set things up with opportunities like, I think it's like, that's kind of my question, right? Like, how much time does this program have to be? How do schools do the 3-year visa thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a major concern, as it should be for someone, relocating, thinking about where do they want to spend a year of their life. And I'm hoping they choose the Smith MBA, but what does that look like for them after they complete the program? Typically within a 1-year program, the traditional, process is to get a 1-year work permit. Considering our students last year alone, 68% were already employed before December. So before they even completed the program, which is fabulous. By graduation at May, 90%. 3 months after graduation, we were at 98%. And this is during a pandemic. So clearly we're doing something right. So for our international students, if they land a job, if they get a job, they're that much farther ahead. So they can certainly get up to a 3-year work permit with that employment under their belt already. And so Canada has the most relaxed immigration policies of any country in the world. It is one of the hottest destinations, I would say, for international students to come and pursue postgraduate studies. And I would say that Kingston itself, being such a safe city, being very diverse in terms of the number of students that are on campus, being a university town really is the best place for our international students to come study and be successful post-MBA.
It's fantastic. So going in that same vein of alumni, what are some of your alumni doing? I mean, you've been in this game for about 10 years. I'm sure you've met some fantastic people that, knowing you, Teresa, you definitely keep in touch with. So maybe you want to cite some examples or just tell some stories, and then kind of getting into what alumni services exist for them as a grad from Smith.
Yeah, so I'll start maybe with the latter. So our services at the Smith School of Business are for life. So for example, if you are a graduate and you decide 5 years in a row that you want to change your career, maybe you want to network because you're relocating to a different country, you can tap back into that career service for life as an alum. So that is, again, one of the added benefits of our program. We do have an amazing alumni relations support team as well, which would connect our our alumni with chapter leaders. So we have various chapters across the globe: San Francisco, Hong Kong, Singapore, the UK. And so if our alumni are looking to connect, maybe they're going to be in the city, then they can tap into that resource as well. And I previously mentioned Smith Connect. So that's a great resource for our alumni, either recent alumni, or, if you are an alum that's been out of, the program for quite some time and you want to connect back with some other alumni from not just the full-time MBA program, but across the suite of MBA options that we have. That Smith Connect platform is ultimately for our alumni. There's mentorship programs happening, networking events as well, that our alumni can tap back into. So maybe the person that you were connected with has left, and you're not really sure as an alumni how to connect back with the school. Well, that's what Smith Connect has been designed to do. So yes, Eric, you're right. I connect with a lot of our alumni. I try to stay as well connected as I can, and I love meeting with alumni when I'm traveling across the globe. So I was just in the UK, meeting with some of our students, our alumni there, and they're doing some amazing things. I have seen costume designers turn consultants, a musician turn investment manager. There's been some amazing transitions that our alumni have gone through, and they really go across the globe. So typically within the on-campus recruiting cycle, they'll stay within Canada because that is very traditional in terms of who's on campus recruiting. But we do have 5%, give or take, that actually go abroad. And, one student a few years ago, she went and did an exchange at NUS, and she absolutely loved Singapore. She came back, got hired at what was then called AT Kearney, now just Kearney, so as a consultant here in Toronto. And then she was able to, after a year, go and transfer to Singapore. So these are just a couple of examples. You can absolutely start working in Canada, or if you're working, looking for an international option, then that is available as well. But I would say that, typically the majority of our students do end up working in Toronto, which is the biggest market in Canada. And I would say that those transitions, we've been able to see all kinds of transitions in terms of what somebody's coming in with compared to what they're coming out of the program doing.
Teresa, thanks for answering the question. And for those of you who are listening, if you're as inspired by listening to Teresa as I am every time I see her. Teresa, do you prefer the email or the website? I can put your email address on the screen as well.
Yeah, feel free. Email is great. If somebody wants to connect with me directly, I am happy to answer any of your questions. Again, connect you with an application advisor to sort of walk you through that preliminary assessment. Again, there is no fee to apply, and we do preliminary assessments at no obligation.
Nice. So for those of you watching, you have her email just in the bottom of the screen, teresa.pires, Pires, @queensu.ca. Bara, welcome back. We're about to wrap it up. So any final questions, comments from anyone? All right. Well, I think that wraps up another amazing episode of MBA Waves. It was really good to talk with you, Teresa, learn about Smith and all the good things you're doing there. For those of you watching, don't forget to join us next week for another episode of MBA Waves, same channel, same time, and see you then. Bye.
Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.